All right, so we're back here a little bit, and let's focus a moment on why, why we want this, right? We've already kind of discussed a little bit, right? Because we want to make informed decisions, and typically when we want to do this, right, we want to marshal evidence, and we want this to be good quality. And so we'll see a lot of times, like in the literature, in a lot of different reviews, right, of literature and things like that. We tend to count experiments, or quasi-experience QE more than any other type, right? And so what this creates then is that we're looking for an intervention that was manipulated by some researchers, or it could occur naturally, as if in a natural experiment. And we're able to have these control groups, and we can look at diverse outcomes, right, or a wide array of outcomes to see how policing practices. Now, the reason for this is that relative to, just simple correlation studies, or relative to, any other type of analysis, right, we know that this is going to be good for assessing the effect of something, right? So we know that, if we focus on something, if we see that behavior moves in a certain way, we were able to control for different things, right? We were able to isolate an effect and establish a causal relationship, right? So this is considered good and something that is desirable, right? And so what you'll see often is that I believe there was this article by Sherman et al. In 1997 that kind of illustrates this, and there have been others that kind of look like this, right? I think the article is like what works, what doesn't, and what's promising. And it kind of gives an overview of different programs, right? There's also the Campbell collaboration, or I think it's collaboration, that attempts to, document and arrange and organize, a wider range of research studies that have been done of the highest quality and summarize that evidence, right? Now, as a consequence of this, right, there tends to be a low number of studies that qualify for, highest quality research, right, or that give, this best form of evidence, right? And as we also know, is that because, it's really costly to run experiments, you have to have a bunch of money. There's, you have to really get someone to comply for a long time. There are external validity issues, there are history issues, they're very local, right? There's a whole lot of, issues related to doing an experiment. But because of this low number of studies, right, and because we live in a country with a very decentralized, extremely decentralized policing system, right, there's a low number of police departments who participate in studies. And we also know that, but with this low police department, there's also sometimes repeat departments, right, who show up because they've established a good relationship, with a research team, or they were able to get, external funding or something like that, right? So we know that these things are coming on, right? I say that not for you to be suspicious of the research evidence that's going in place, but to just simply provide context for information. So again, what this really, tells us then is that most of the research and most of what is studied in this kind of, field or in this area, what we want to consider evidence, right, is that there is this preference for impact analysis. Where we are looking at something and we want to see the effect on crime, or we want to see the effect on police stop behavior, or we want to see what the impact is, for any kind of outcome you select, right? We're focusing on the impacts of an intervention, or like such as a change in police behavior or a targeting or police tactic, and what that led to, right? So most of the time, evidence-based practice are talking about this. We are focusing on the impact of an intervention, right? That's a really crucial thing to remember, and we'll revisit this point a little bit later. So with this then, so we understand this context then, we understand the value of it then, because if we have this, good quality evidence, we can then, because we know it's not tainted with anything, it's not shaped or, lumpy in other areas. I don't know why I use the word lumpy, but we're using lumpy. Because we have this good quality evidence, we can then, make sure it's not tainted in decision making, right? And usually, if you're doing an experiment, right, there's pretty good documentation of, what happened, how it was implemented, what areas were targeted, what kind of effect you could expect and things like that, right? So the goal then is that, is to make this information available broadly. So, and accessible, which is a different issue. And this is, to kind of create like a repository of information where people can look up certain effects, right? Or they can identify a problem in their community. And as a result of that, for police departments, so they can, put it into action. So because of this, right, we want to put this into action. It's because we want to have like this science-based approach to taking care of crime, right? That is the main goal. And in theory, right, it's something, this is very similar to a problem-oriented policing kind of thing, right, where we want police departments and agencies to, deploy, an intervention after studying a problem, not just do it willy-nilly, right, but to study a problem so they have a good problem definition, they're able to look up information, stats, and based off of that, and then evaluate their findings or their impact on whatever outcome they're looking at. So that is the main idea behind evidence-based policing, and kind of like the role related to that. So we'll in the next video we'll kind of pick up a little bit more about some of the challenges of this, and what can